Honorable Anil Nandlal, our Minister of Legal Affairs, SC, Ms. Vindya Prasad, our Minister of Human Services, Ms. Murdoch, represented the United Nations in this effort, our Director of Public Prosecutions, Ms. Shalimar Ali Haq, our representative from the United Kingdom, Mr. Adler Baino, and all other supporters from the development agencies, our representatives, Director of Prisons, Deputy Commissioner Budram, former Commissioner of Police Silal Prasad, who is the Director of the Restorative Justice Center, and of course our representatives from the religious communities, the facilitators and others in the communities who have, I believe, a vested interest in the question of restorative justice. I understand that this is indeed an effort, one of the initiatives of the Minister of Legal Affairs, a resort, firstly, to change the way in which we handle crime, perhaps of a lesser nature, uh, by avoiding imprisonment, by having engagements at the community level in respect of intercepting issues which may escalate to the point of the crime which was just mentioned, which we sincerely regret in the loss of another female person, another femicide in the country. The initially, when one thinks of restorative justice, at least of my perspective, is that we wonder how we arrive at this place, how we treat with each other, how perhaps we disdain each other, how perhaps we as men are dysfunctional, insecure, violent in our society, and how when we look at our numbers, and when I look at the deaths from time to time of the Director of Public Prosecutions, it speaks perhaps to you have to have some introspection as to how we are as a country in relation to matters of criminality and disdain of each other in our communities. The first thing I would say is that Guyana and many of these countries are or were established as the result of an exploitative criminal enterprise. It's the first thing I say. The second thing I want to say is that we were all brought together here in this country. We didn't know each other, but we've come to this place and we have a wonderful opportunity to carry forward a country as one Guyana, as our President Irfan Ali speaks about, where we can show the rest of the world that we can, as different, diverse people from different ancestral homelands, live and work together and develop a singular country, be a singular example for the rest of humanity and for the region in terms of how people should live and work together across boundaries of race, religion, ethnicity, and all those things we talk about. Given our history, we should not blame ourselves, in effect, as the state and the culture and the way we have been brought up to arrive at the point that we are today. However, moving forward, even more so now, we have the responsibility going forward to make a better, safer country, particularly for women and children, because if we don't protect our women and children, we will not be building a country. We will not have the self-respect and the development, and we will not be able to hand over a better country to the next generation. It would be impossible. We would be at risk to any and everything. We need perhaps more study, more writing up, and more conversations in the communities and amongst ourselves. And when I think of this, sometimes I remember my mother. Well, I got a visitor. I haven't checked her for 2 weeks. But when she and I had difficult issues to talk about, there used to be blackouts in those days. But I found it easy to talk when the lights were off. And sometimes we need to do some more of that. And then perhaps we move on to where we could look each other in the face and arrive at positions on things. We are not guilty for the way we are and for the challenges which we have to overcome. We are not guilty as a Guyanese people. And we should stop behaving as though we're guilty. We should recognize and love to learn and respect each other. We have to pay more attention to understanding each other's religions and ethnicities and challenges. We need to appreciate the life and the challenges of people, Guyanese people in the hinterland who live in extreme difficulty. And I was glad that the DPP went out into the Rupununi and we were driving around Karasabay and all kinds of places and seeing what vaqueros and people were doing. These experiences are vital towards learning about ourselves. And so, for me, the question of the restorative justice goes beyond the mere issue of the question of the imprisonment in itself, but understanding who we are as a people and where and how we need to take resorts which will intercept things escalating in the communities, where we have to find ways of identifying bad or toxic behavior which will result in bad things happening. So it moves beyond what I thought or I think they had in South Africa after the change, where you had the Truth and Reconciliation Commission working, bad things happen there, and truth has to be based on facts, not gaffing and what I call carrying pro things in the social media these days, carrying pro journalism. But, and also the experience they had in Rwanda, where they had Gakaka courts to deal with genocide. So this for us is a particularly important engagement. I hope that the centers could be rolled out fast beyond the initial experience and establishment on the East Coast, because I believe it is sorely needed. And the conversation, the discussions we need to have in respect of these matters are singularly important. I want to congratulate, of course, again the Attorney General and to identify that our continued support will be in respect of this issue, and to say too that we'll continue to work with the Ministry of Human Services on these issues, and to continue to encourage our police and other persons, and also in the prison system, that we will have a more empathetic approach to the issues of criminality, of incarceration, and also critically the question of victimhood. How do we deal with the victims? Because trauma runs deep when you have a crime as that which occurred last evening in the presence of children and the community. It runs deep and it can move on for generations, from generation to generation. And memories in relation to crime and that trauma resides deep and does not go away easily. So with that I want to thank you for attention and to wish this enterprise every success. Thank you very much.